Grab a friend, 'cause every week we're going in. Everybody will go. Girls, I tell you on the radio. Girls, I tell you on the radio. Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to Coffee-sations with Tanya, where the conversations are always straight talk, real talk. This is our weekend edition, and I am your girl, Tanya D. Walker. I'm here every week and weekend now with conversations about relationship, about ministry, about business. You name it, there's absolutely no conversation that's off limits. And so today I have with me, for the second time this week, my special guest, Sonia M. She is a pastor, an author, an educator, a philanthropist. She is just doing some stuff in ministry and in the marketplace. And I don't know if you guys know, I have been highlighting women in ministry and in the marketplace who I believe are really trailblazers. And I have known Sonia not long, but I met her maybe about 3 years ago at a conference. And when I tell you, she walked in those heels, she preached in those heels, she gave us what we needed in those heels, but it's always been something about her. And so I wanted to highlight everything that she's doing in ministry and in the marketplace. So before we get our conversation started, I hope you guys have your coffee, because I have mine, Sonia has hers. So let's go ahead and get this thing started. Sonia, welcome to the table.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yes, listen, so we started off the conversation on Thursday from your book, the I Am Pretty. It's a series, I Am Pretty, or I Am series. Before we get into that,
Right.
give them your 30-second, 60-second commercial about who you are and what you're doing.
Okay, you've already told my name, Sonia Adams, and I am a minister. Mom, look, a Black boy mom, have 2 sons, Solomon and Simeon, and just been in ministry since I was 22 years old, a former athlete, played basketball, and so I'm very competitive as well, but just love people. And I have an affinity towards women, especially probably because I had 2 brothers, and then as well, you know, having 2 sons. So I don't get a lot of estrogen. So when I get with my sisters and get with women, I just am fulfilled because I love women and I love doing women's ministry. I love serving in the kingdom with my nonprofit. I'm a former teacher, professor, have a master's in theology from Oral Roberts University. And so I'm a servant, just have a lot of love in my heart. Got that from my dad growing up, seeing him just giving and loving and doing, and my mom as well. So yeah, that's just me. You know, I just serve wherever God leads me.
And that's a beauty, because we sometimes when we're called into ministry, I know I was afraid when I was called into ministry. I knew from a child that I had always been different, that I didn't fit in, right? I never fit in. I always tried to be like the other girls. And it was something about God where he would not let me fit in. And I remember the day that he told me that my problem was acceptance. It was in one word, acceptance, and I tried to be accepted by everybody. And so in that, it took me to get to this place where life then began to change for me. Once I said yes, the whole bottom of my world fell out, and, had a Job experience. And I mean, it was a real Job experience. And so in the book, as we were talking last week, early in the week, you talked about purpose and how it's ever changing and how it's fluid. And for somebody like me who didn't understand my purpose, and here's the funny part, I had been in the marketplace for 2 decades, right? I was doing the things that I thought I loved, but still did not know my purpose. Talk about that. Right. And how purpose is ever changing. It's fluid. And sometimes you may not know until you're 45 that who you are. Who you are.
Well, yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because purpose has been kind of one of those key terms or topics that ministry has been preaching and speaking for years. And do you know your purpose? Have you arrived to your destiny, and all of those things? And sometimes it has been very vague in trying to fulfill it or trying to reach it. But purpose is just simply hearing from God and doing what he's asking you to do in every season and stage of your life. It's very simple. And and it took me a while to get that too, because what we do, we look way out here and think, when I fulfill this, then I'm walking in my purpose. When I do this, then I'm in my purpose. And God is like, no, as you're doing this right now, right where you are in your purpose. If it's what I called you to do, is what I've uniquely crafted and woven you to do. And you're doing it, and you're doing it with passion, and you're doing it with eternal perspective. And that's the key difference between God's purpose and just doing something in the earth. And so in having a perspective of that, you're serving and helping people to help them see God, not preaching at them and not, throwing the Bible at them, but just sharing God's love with people in every phase and journey of your life. And you have to be ready for God to say, okay, I want you to go this way.
Yeah.
Okay, we're done here. Let's go here. We're done here. Let's go here next. You have to always be willing and open. That's why I said fluid, because God can tell you to go to Kenya one month, and then he may say, you know what, I need you down at the hospital this month. I need you an assignment at Maynard Jackson High School for a year, working with high school kids. I'm speaking of myself right now. So I need you to plant a church. Okay, that's over with. So it's always changing, but we have to listen and we have to be willing.
So here's the crazy part, because I think the same thing happened to me, and I want to think something is going on with Facebook, because I can't see our comments. So I pray that you guys can hear and see us, because something is not quite right. But we're going to keep.
I'm seeing it.
Okay.
We're on.
Okay, so we're going to keep the conversation started, because I do understand, just like you, that it's ever changing, because here I am back in Atlanta for a third time. Not something that I ever wanted to do, aspired to do. I think I was even afraid to come back, because the life I lived the first time, after the real estate market crashed, it broke me. Lord, it broke me. But in that, and I'll go back to that to get into my next. So when I got to this place where I said yes to God, and I give him my yes. And I remember you saying in the last conversation, you got to give God your yes every day or all the time. Yes. And I remember giving him my first yes, and the world fell out, right? I didn't think I would rebound. For the woman who we now know that purpose is ever changing. We know that it's fluid. And we, as women, if we're good, we have already prepared things that we want to do for ourselves, right? We know what we want, we think, and then the world falls out from under you. How do you rebound from that? Because it shook me to my core. And it took me a very long time, because then it became mental. could I do this again? How do you rebound?
Yeah. Well, rebounding is acknowledging where you are. And I like the fact that you said that it shook me.
Yes.
Same with me when I was, because I just thought, my husband and I were going to pastor forever. We were going to have a retirement service and we were going to be old and gray and say our ministry has ended. And God ended that in 15 years. And
wow.
when it ended, I was shook as well. If I could take your word. And so in that, when things do change and we don't understand it, it's hurtful. It was a lot of rejection with that change as well. We have to process it and we have to allow God to process us, but we have to acknowledge it. We have to acknowledge, God, okay, it's changed, but I don't like this change. I'm uncomfortable. It's not fair. We can let God know everything anyway, so we can just voice it and he will work with us to get through it. But see, the thing about God is this. He has an intended purpose in mind for allowing us to go through things, even in this COVID-19. I'm sure this has shaken everybody because and some people more than others. But even in this shaking, I don't want to preach because I can start preaching.
Come on.
Even in this shaking, God is getting something out of this. And a lot of hurt and pain is happening. Things everything I planned for the beginning of 2020, God put it at a halt. Everything you planned and everything the listeners planned, God put it at a halt.
Yeah.
He did not bring the evil, but he allowed it. He said, I'm gonna put y'all in timeout.
Yeah, for a long time.
And things are gonna shift so you all can see things from a different perspective. But I'm working something out of this for your good. So we have to acknowledge how we feel, relent to the process, and then get over the pain and then begin to listen for our next steps of what God is doing out of the situation that we may be uncomfortable in. And it takes time. We have to be patient.
Listen,
it doesn't happen
this thing just grew like 12 other limbs, right?
But don't go there.
We're not going to go there because we don't have the time, right? But it has grown 12 other limbs. And one of the things you just talked about is you talked about processing. And during this time because God allows everything to happen so that we can come back to him. He wants us to get to this place where we come back to our first love, which is Jesus Christ. And we've gotten away from that, so we know that. And so during that and in this time out, this adult time out for many, he's processing us. You use that word, he's processing us. I wrote that in a book that I have, Being Processed for Purpose. But in that, in the whole rebounding, a lot of it, we wear masks. You talked about in the book how God changed your identity. I talked about it very briefly, how he changed my identity. Talk to the woman, because one of the things when we talk about this, you said we have to give God our yes over and over and over and over. And we have to know that we are affirmed and knowing who we are. But for the woman who don't, for the woman who waited till she was 45, to figure out or to allow God to show her who her was, what's the first thing she should do, right? To get to this place, to walk in full bloom, to bloom where she's planted.
Right. I love the fact that you said that when you don't really know, or the affirmation piece, because when you're struggling with that, and I wrestled with it for years, you feel like you are somebody, you feel like you're worthy. But I think what happened for me, and that I would share with other women as we're sharing this morning, is that it has to get to the deep recesses of your soul. What is in your mind has to reach your spirit and reach your soul. And so I can say I am wonderfully and fearfully made, that I'm a royal priest, that I'm chosen by God. And that's all good in my mind, and I'm speaking it. But has it reached my soul?
Come on.
Has it reached my spirit, where it's really a part of my DNA? And that is the thing that I had to get, because I put a quote on Facebook the other day. It's better to know who you are as opposed to striving to be somebody. It's better to know you're somebody than to strive to be somebody. And for years, I was striving to be somebody when I was already somebody. Not because of anything I did, but because of what God said. So that's what I talk about, is received, being affirmed by the Father, knowing who you are because he said you're fearfully and wonderfully made, and get it in your spirit. And it just freed me, and it will free you because you're not striving, you're just being.
And because here's what I do know, and I learned this early on, but that it was a part of my genetic makeup already. Mm-hmm. You said DNA, I call it genetic. It's a part of your genetic makeup. Yes. And it's that thing. And it's so funny because I was texting last night a friend of mine in Alaska, and I told them that I was getting ready to enter into my master's program. And they said, well, what are you doing your master's in? And I said, clinical mental health and counseling. And I just kind of laughed as I said it, because that's the first thing that God wanted me to do. When I first started college, I was going to school for psychology. But we're born with these things, but because we see and we're striving to be, and it's honestly, we're not striving to be like us, we're striving to be like her, or we're striving to be like him, and then we forget who God created us to be. And it's that thing that was there all along. And so all 51 years into this, I'm back at where he wanted me to be. So in this time out, I'm able to now get to this place where I'm blooming, where he's literally planted me to become who he had already predestined me to be. He said, I knew you before they even knew you. Talking about our moms and dads. And so we got to get to this place where we have this relationship. And one other thing before I talk about, because I want to talk about these two things in the I Am series, the Pretty series. We talk about getting to this place where you said something about when it don't resonate in your soul, your heart and your mouth got to match. We can talk the talk all day, but if it's not if it's not matching what you say in your heart, you're just going around the mountain until he gets tired of you going around the mountain. So ladies, take off those masks. I think that's one of the things I would even say is just take off the mask and allow God to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly, because even in the good, the bad, and the ugly, you're still fearfully and wonderfully made, right? So in here, I went back this morning, I listened to the show on Thursday, and if you guys did not catch the show on Thursday, go back and do it, because it was a great conversation, but you gave us the definition of pretty. And we know that pretty, the P stands for purpose, the R stands for received, the first E stands for the E stands for earmark, one T stands for tenacious, the other T stands for
triumphant.
That's me. And the last one was yielded. And I knew early in the week that yielded was my word, because I was always afraid to yield, to part of surrender. But I want to talk about the tenacious women, the women who got the big mouths, the women who are outspoken, the women who are resilient, those women who always get rejected because they don't fit in the mold.
Right.
On that word, because and I don't fit in your box. Jesus.
Yes, the tenacious women are the ones who fall down but get back up. Yes. And even if the men are listening too, we have tenacious men as well. But we're talking, about the book Pretty, and I'm going to put my little plug in here. Yeah. And we're talking about the chapter on tenacious. And tenacious women are women that have challenges in their life, things that happen, but they always seem to rise. And it's a strength, an inner strength that's in them that causes them to even overcome some of the worst situations that life could bring.
My God.
But they're able to come through and and I like to say, come back resilient and come back stronger. But what happens is this: when we do it in our own strength.
I can't even drink on that.
Okay, don't drink your coffee. Right? When we do it in our own strength, eventually our strength runs out. And I'm the one, like I said, I'm the athlete. So we did the suicides, we
Come
ran,
on.
and when you lose a game, you get ready, you're going to win the next game. So I know about getting back up, and if I fall down, I'm back up. But let me tell you, this human body can only go so far. And when I was depleted of everything, I was so tired and such in a place where my tenacity in my own self had ran out.
Wow.
I had gotten up several times and I had overcome defeat in several ways. But when I ran out of strength and I fell into a place, it was a pit of depression, a pit where I could not move.
Yeah.
I was immobile. I was done.
Been there.
And God was like, now
I can use you.
My strength. You're right in the place where my tenacity.
You better preach, because that's it.
Come in and do what needs to be done. So I always remember that I can't do anything in my own strength. And I relent and let God just give me what I need for every area in my life, because we're weak vessels and we are weak, but in Him we are strong.
You're made strong.
So I kind of talk about that in that chapter, how my strength ran out and where He took over, and now it's just a freedom. So I don't know, I'm sure other races are listening, but this is part of what we're dealing with as a Black race.
Come on, talk about it.
We have overcome. We've heard that song. We shall overcome. We have overcome and overcome with our tenacity, with our strength. But God said, y'all need some help.
Yes.
So I'm going to break down some walls, and I'm going to do some things so that where your strength has ended, my strength is about to come on and make some change and do some things. And we see the tenacity that is of the Lord coming in and breaking down some walls.
That's good.
And we're better together than we are alone. And that's why it's going to take all of us to even overcome what we're dealing with right now in this nation and this world. But I believe God's tenacity is taking us to be triumphant, which is the next chapter. And I have hope, even in the midst of this, individually, collectively, and corporately, that things are going to change, and we're going to see some triumphant days, even greater than what we've seen.
Last night, Sonia, when because I don't watch, I think maybe 3% of the time I might watch TV. So last night I had this, thing, watch some TV, see what's going on in the world instead of reading what's going on in the world.
Right.
And I saw the tenacity. I saw the strength of the people. I saw the zeal and the fervor and all these words. And what God gave me last night, He said, those are my children of Israel in Egypt. Because remember, the Egyptians, they kept coming and they kept saying, every time we do this, they just keep coming back and they produce more. That is the resilience of, we weren't talking about it, but we're talking about it. That is the resilience of the people today. There has to be, and everybody's not the same in the war. Everybody doesn't fight the same fight on the battlefield, right? I feel God. Everybody don't fight the same fight. You might be called to the front line physically to fight, to have your voice heard, but I might be called to the front line to push and assert myself in spiritual warfare. We have to know people that, as she mentioned, we don't, because we'll try to do it in our own might. We'll try to do it, but He says, not by power, not by might, but by my Spirit. And it is going to take the Spirit of God to come in and blow on what's going on so that we can be triumphant. Because God says, I'm going to get the victory. And when I get victory, because He's going to be the triumphant one, we gain territory like Jabez.
Right.
Come on. We gain territory like Jabez if we sit and get strategy from God to allow us in our tenacious selves. Because look, do you see how we went from tenacious to this and got to tenacious somewhere else?
Right. But you know what? Also, when you're saying that the last chapter is yielded, and I like, you have to be yielded though.
You better come on.
If we don't do it according to His way, and see, everybody has a place of influence. Everybody has something that they can do. But you have to know what it is that you can do. We can't, like you said, we can't do everything.
Yeah.
That's why we yield, and God tells us and leads us into the places that I can make an impact in this arena, and with my voice here. You can do something different. Someone else can do something different.
And my impact might not be your impact.
Yes,
So don't judge the next person's move, because my move might not be, I might not be called to fight like you. Listen to this, and we'll say this, like even with the children of Israel, when they were going, when he was leading them, God had to take them back the same way they had come, because he said, your strength is weak. And if I take you to this through the same way or the way that you want to go, you're going to die. So I got to take you back the same way you came, let you rest a minute. So we can't be so quick at this thing. We have to yield. There's some time in us where we have to yield and we have to re-up.
Right.
And he'll tell us when to, be relentless, and because that's my word, or to relent.
Right.
And we just have to stay tuned into this. Listen, we have got, I feel all of the power of the Holy Ghost on this show. I told you, straight talk, real talk, and it's always backed by biblical principle. And this has been a show I love. I'm going, because we're at 10:30, but do this before we go. Recap really quick. Let's, tell them your final words. Let them know where they can find you, because I got the one, and I'm going to read it when I finish my homework, because I am ready.
Okay.
Recap.
Okay, so I just want to say that as we've talked today, we use the book as the platform, or the to springboard about being tenacious, being for purpose, received, earmarked, tenacious, triumphant, and yielded, which is the recap of what we're saying. And part of even me writing this book is to help women to just really get affirmed in those areas, and really get even more empowered. And that's what we have to do in our communities. We have to do as a people. We have to do as Christians. We have to do as those who are learning and want to know about God. And so that's part of my purpose, is to write, and I have to use that and yield to that and do. But I just want to recap and encourage women and men who may be listening that yield to the Father. He's given us steps in our own lives, even to make an impact in this world, and to do what he's called us to do. And we can make a change. Everybody doing what they have been called or assigned to do. We all congruently work together to impact the world in a positive way. And I love the word yielded, and I'm going to end on that, is because we know a lot of stuff is going on right now. But don't do anything out of impulse and out of your flesh, but just yield. I mean, I have felt some things that I wanted to do that I know that's not the way God wanted me to handle it. So just yield to him, listen, your life will change, the world will change, and people will be blessed, and allow yourself to go through the process that you're in. And even in this time out, and I like that word, in this time out, we have to listen, and as we listen, we move, and not too soon and not too slow, but we move as we're being led. And so thank you for the opportunity to share. You can get my book on Amazon. I Am Pretty. It's the second book in the first book in the series. I Am Ready.
I'm ready.
That's for the single ladies. And I Am Married is coming soon.
Come on.
And I'm working on it now. And I have 2 more in the series that God has given me. But it's just being whoever God called you to be.
Amen. Listen, I love you live. This has been a wonderful show. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Both times has been, 3 times. See, they don't know it was 3 times. But it's been a charm, and I just want to just say thank you. Listen, guys, go and get her book. She's very modest. Go get her books. Go to her website, bloomingvines.com, right? Blooming Vines. Blossoming Vines.
Or you can go to Amazon and just put I Am Pretty in. Young girls, I have a basketball team that I'm doing a book club with. It's 14 girls. young
So,
girls in high
and,
school.
and she's doing a lot in ministry and in the marketplace. Go and check her out. Friend her, follow her, do what we need to do, because if we talk, because it's not, just all lives matter, but right now it's really Black Lives Matter. Because until Black Lives Matter, no other life, I think God will just say it's more important. And so in this, we need to learn to support one another. We need to learn to love one another. And this is a great opportunity to support her and to support what we are now talking about in the streets, right? So go to her website. We are done here. Thank you, guys. Listen, if you've enjoyed this show, do me a favor and share this broadcast with your friends, your families. Let them know that every Thursday we are on I Worship 96 FM radio.com. It's internet radio, but we do record it live. And then also we are here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with just some more straight talk, really kind of girl talk, where we can just get in the flow and just enjoy one another. So that's it. That's our show for today. If you want to learn anything else about me, go to my website, latanyadwalker.org. If you would like to be a guest on this show, click on AP Media and somebody on our team will be in touch with you to be a guest on the show. Until next week, be bold, be brilliant, be beautiful, be authentically you. It's your girl, Latanya D. Walker. I'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Thank you.